Navy SEALs versus Spetsnaz. Two names that carry a chill when whispered in a briefing room. Two brands that Hollywood bends into legend. Two communities that spend most of their careers operating in silence while the rest of us try to decode a few scraps of footage and heavily redacted after-action notes. Strip away the fan clubs and the internet myths, and what you are left with is a fascinating study in how two countries build, select, and deploy their most adaptable problem solvers. Different histories, different doctrines, different pressures, same expectation when they step off the ramp or slip below the surf. Get it right the first time. Start with the talent pipeline because everything begins there. The United States draws from a massive population with a volunteer force that has spent decades refining how it identifies temperament, resilience, and raw aptitude. That scale matters. SEAL candidates arrive with wildly different backgrounds, language skills, academic profiles, and athletic baselines, then get put through a filter that is notorious for one thing above all else. It is not designed to make you stronger. It is designed to find out if you break. Cold surf, miles of sand, log, PT, the grind of BUD/S, the crucible of Hell Week, endless evolutions that make sleep a rumor. The finish line is not a guaranteed trident. It is permission to keep training. The American approach optimizes for repeat deployment cycles, joint interoperability, and surgical precision under a microscope of public oversight. Russia's funnel into Spetsnaz looks different because it grew out of a different story. The Soviet mission set during the Cold War leaned toward deep penetration, sabotage, and battlefield shaping behind NATO lines. Modern Russia kept the Spetsnaz umbrella, but diversified it. You do not have one monolithic unit here. You have families of units spread across ministries, each with its own selection gates, traditions, and mission flavors. Information about the exact pathways is guarded, but the broad outline is clear enough. Tough physical standards, a culture that romanticizes stoicism, and a fighting system that rewards brutal simplicity in close quarters. Where Americans turn selection into a science of controlled misery, Russian pathways often emphasize live-fire realism and improvisation under actual pain. Both cull for mindset first. Both accept that the cost of failure in training is cheaper than the cost of failure in combat. Zoom in on training philosophy and you begin to see the contours sharpen. SEALs are amphibious raiders at their core, but that core branches quickly into air, land, and maritime specialties. Dive physics becomes second nature. Freefall is a language. Demolitions are art and arithmetic. There is a relentless obsession with checklists, contingencies, and rehearsals that stack up like nested insurance policies. The tempo is high, the scrutiny higher. Every explosive charge, every breach, every insertion profile lives inside a method. The idea is not to be predictable. The idea is to make sure the fundamentals are so ingrained that under adrenaline and chaos, you revert to logic, not panic. Spetsnaz training speaks in a different dialect. The emphasis on hand-to-hand systems, weapon transitions, and austere fieldcraft supports a mission profile that may be more forgiving of noise and more accepting of ugly solutions. Real ammunition in close drills is not unheard of. Pain is not treated as a byproduct. It is treated as a teacher. Where SEAL schools chase standardization across a global enterprise, many Spetsnaz programs accept regional variation and unit personality. You can read that as inconsistency or as flexibility depending on whether you value uniformity or feral creativity. The truth is that both approaches can generate dangerous professionals. They simply define dangerous in different ways. Now, talk gear, because everyone always asks. The US machine is a budget supercar for special operations. If a piece of equipment shortens a timeline, quiets a signature, or buys one more second of surprise, it will be evaluated, purchased, and integrated. COTS gadgets mingle with bespoke platforms, from suppressed carbines and precision rifles to maritime vehicles, thermal sights, comms that talk to everything, and aircraft that can move a troop across a continent while the world is asleep. The logistics tale is insane. Not all of it is glamorous. The most critical piece of gear might be a battery, a firmware patch, or a harness that does not snag when the door blows. That is the point. You are resourced to eliminate variables. Russian special units are not starving for kit. They are selective in a different way. The mix tends to privilege reliability in mud, snow, or urban grit. AK lineage platforms are familiar and open to customization. Russian optics and suppressors have matured. Precision guns are present, radios have improved. Where Spetsnaz often shine is in the freedom to modify and adapt on the fly. You see odd marriages of old and new, creative armor solutions, and a willingness to tune tools at the operator level. It is less about a catalog and more about a toolbox that can be raided and hacked to fit the moment. That spirit aligns with their training culture. If it works, it is doctrine. Deployment is where the differences get loud. The United States can put a small team almost anywhere with a web of carriers, submarines, forward bases, and partners who answer the phone. That network reduces friction. It also lets planners scale risk up or down with ISR overhead that watches everything, and aerial tankers that turn distance into an inconvenience. You will see SEALs surge into littorals, deserts, jungles, mountains, and dense cities with logistics that can rearm and exfiltrate even when the weather or politics go sideways. The downside of that power is visibility. Every mission lives under legal oversight and media attention, which means success needs to look clean. Spetsnaz units deploy inside a tighter orbit. They can be lightning fast inside Russia's near abroad and in specific partner states. They can also operate in places where Moscow accepts a higher degree of ambiguity and deniability. The footprint can be small, the signature noisy, the rules of engagement looser. The upside is freedom to maneuver without a press conference waiting at home. The downside is exposure to the harsh math of contested airspace and limited ISR coverage compared to a fully spun-up American joint package. When the mission is local or near local and the insertion routes are friendly, Spetsnaz can feel omnipresent. When the target sits under someone else's umbrella, the chessboard gets cruel. Strategy and doctrine are the invisible hands pushing the pieces. American Special Operations have spent the last 2 decades refining the partner force enablement. Targeted raids under strict evidentiary frameworks, hostage rescue under impossible time pressure, and maritime interdiction that looks deceptively calm on camera and brutally complex on the planning wall. The culture prizes accountability. After-action reviews are sacred. The expectation is that precision and patience will save lives and keep the political temperature manageable. Russian doctrine is comfortable mixing conventional and unconventional pressure in the same theater. Maskirovka is not a word tossed around for effect. It is a living habit of deception and misdirection that Spetsnaz can feed with reconnaissance, sabotage, and strategic intimidation. Where Americans design the perfect trap and wait, Russians are often happy to break rhythm, exploit confusion, and accept casualties to seize narrative momentum. Neither style is inherently superior. Each reflects what the state values and what the state can afford to lose. People love to argue weapons like it is a video game. It is not. The rifle in your hands matters less than the clarity in your head, the reliability of your teammate, and the quality of the intel that put you on the right door at the right time. SEALs will bring a familiar family of platforms tuned for suppression and modularity. Spetsnaz will bring equally lethal packages with ergonomics that reward muscle memory built since conscription. Night vision, thermals, breaching charges, drones, and breaching tools are table stakes on both sides now. The gap shows up in sustainment. The American ecosystem can resupply a team with exact components mid-rotation. Russian units may improvise more aggressively when the resupply chain is thin. That improvisation can be a weakness or a weapon, depending on who adapts faster. Media exposure is not a footnote. It shapes recruiting, public support, and political freedom of action. SEALs have lived through a cycle of high-profile operations, leaks, and films that codified them as the default American commandos in the public mind. That exposure is not universally welcomed inside the community. It creates noise. Yet it also attracts candidates who show up understanding the price. Spetsnaz operate in a media environment that swings from bombastic to silent. State narratives carry weight. Stories surface, then vanish. Myth fills the space. Both communities would prefer the old rule: quiet professionals, results only. Neither gets that luxury all the time. So, who is better? That is the question tossed like a grenade into every comment section. It is the wrong question if you are looking for truth rather than entertainment. Better at what? A complex maritime interdiction against a non-state actor with international legal implications. Edge to SEALs because the ocean is their home and the legal scaffolding is familiar. A blunt, deniable strike to sow confusion along a contested frontier where rocket artillery might answer within minutes. Edge to Spetsnaz because the escalation ladder is theirs and the logistics are friendly. The honest comparison lives mission by mission, terrain by terrain, politics by politics. Consider a hypothetical to ground the debate. A high-value individual moves between safe houses in a coastal city with fortified checkpoints and a loyal militia. The task is to capture, not kill. The window is one night. American planners would saturate the zone with overhead collection, build pattern-of-life models, stage maritime and rotary assets, seed the area with deception, and then hit a time-on-target chain that ends with a surgical breach, a controlled extraction, and a flight that leaves the target in a courtroom months later. Russian planners might stage a rolling series of diversions, flood the neighborhood with masked units, use an informant to pull the target into a vulnerable street, and accept a violent collision that ends before dawn with the target on a convoy headed east. Which is better? The answer depends on how you define success and what your political masters want to see on the morning news. Now, flip the script. A sabotage mission against a radar site sitting hundreds of kilometers inside hostile territory. No helicopters, no friendly air cover, no promise of recovery if things fall apart. That is a job that loves a small team, comfortable with hardship and happy to move light. Spetsnaz units were born for that kind of walk. SEALs can do it, absolutely, but the American system would try to surround that patrol with options that change the geometry. Cross-border ISR, contingency pickup zones, communication tricks to thread the legal needle. Two solutions to the same equation, both valid, both lethal. Culture deserves a mention because it is the water these operators swim in. SEAL teams are small tribes inside a large bureaucracy. They fight to protect standards, embrace humility as a survival skill, and burn out on tempo if leadership does not guard the calendar. Spetsnaz units carry pride layered with fatalism and a dark humor forged by history. They expect hardship. They expect loss. They also expect to win ugly. Neither culture is soft. Both produce fighters who see the world with clear eyes. The truth that matters most is simple. These are not superheroes. They are human beings who volunteered to be forged, who endured being broken and rebuilt, and who now carry the burden of handling problems that would paralyze most of us. The hype around them often confuses the tool with the task. A SEAL platoon is a means to an end. A Spetsnaz detachment is a lever applied at a precise point on a political map. They are instruments. The music they play depends on the conductor. If you came here looking for a scoreboard, here's the closest thing you will get. If the operation is maritime, legally delicate, and requires a scalpel, the American package offers a deep bench, exquisite logistics, and a culture that rehearses until muscle memory looks like magic. If the operation is deniable, fast, and tolerant of noise inside Russia's strategic comfort zone, the Russian package offers audacity, improvisation, and a readiness to create shock effects that ripple beyond the target. The margins can blur. Both sides have operators who could swap kit and still finish the job because the fundamentals of violence and restraint are universal at this level. And that's it for today. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below.